Whoa! Welcome to an extra spooky, extra fresh episode of Fresh Out the Podcast, the only podcast where you can see these three fellas do spooky things. Hey, I'm the board game guru, game master extraordinaire, and your friend, Johananon.
It's me, Casualty, CDG, Tabletop Titan, and Podcast Poppy.
Podcast Poppy, I like it. I am the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen, and welcome to episode 106 of Fresh Out the Podcast, where we have another draft for all of your ears today. This is going to be
cold in here. That's what that is. There's a
I see what you did there. No, this is what I have officially named the Super Fresh Spooky Draft. This is our yeah. You like that? You like that, John?
It's just terrible.
Super fresh.
It's not terrible. There's nothing terrible about it. The Super Fresh Spooky Draft, SFSD, as they say, and we teased this last week. We have done extensive work and research to come up with the outline for this here draft, and Here's what I'm thinking. Some of this we are discussing live on the air because I think that makes for the most fun podcasting. Some feedback that we got back from when we did our Star Wars draft is that I think it was just easier for us to keep track of things as we were going. We were just doing the categories in order. However, for a snake draft format, I don't think that works fairly. I think what I'd like to do here, because now you both have access to the sheet, so you'll be able to see who has what where, because I will be updating it live. I think that on your pick, you choose whoever you want, and you make sure you note what category you're taking that character or thing in. Because then that way, I think we can... It's easier for us to get the things that we want, because we can prioritize the things that we really want as part of our lineup here. So like if your first pick you want to take,
I am gonna do the thing again. I'm gonna do the special. Can we just do you get two, everyone gets two, where you can pick out of order? That's what we did last time for the Star Wars draft, and that ended up working, where if you really wanted something and you were hungry for it, you could grab it. But otherwise we stayed in order, and I thought that was pretty user friendly for the listeners. But
I want to jump around this time. I want to try it out. I'm not trying to poo-poo on you here.
No, look,
but I think
we did it that way already. Then we'll do it your way, and then next time we'll know which way we like more.
Yeah, we can see what kind of feedback we get. But like, for example, if whoever has the first pick, if they say, I want to take in the category of cursed item first, you can do that. But if I really want to take in the category of, say, Universal Monster or Slasher or Stephen King item, we can do that. So which kind of then sets up the categories that we've determined here. And there will be crossover, because I think that's just the nature of some of these things. We have here, I have 2 Slasher entries per roster, 2 monster/creature entries per roster, 2 paranormal or ghost entries per roster, 1 Universal Monster, 1 Stephen King villain or creature or whatever that may be, something from a Stephen King piece of IP. I have a modern horror category here, and I just put post 2000s. The reason I wanted to include this category is just so much horror iconography is like, when I think of horror movies, I think Freddy Krueger, I think Jason Voorhees, I think a lot of these characters that have been around for decades now. And so I think it's fun to have a category where you're forced to choose something a little bit more modern that maybe doesn't have the same amount of legacy to it. So that's why I wanted to keep
a really fun conversation to be had just about that in general, about how it's gone from these sort of iconic horror figures to man versus man. A lot of time, it's the survivors that are more dangerous than the zombies these days. And so a lot of horror stories and the way they're told have changed. So I think that's interesting. I think that's an interesting, post 2000s, the genre has changed.
And I want to make sure to note that that category excludes things that have been rebooted and such. Like, for example, Pennywise the Clown has been around since the 80s, and there is a Tim Curry, portrayal and so on. But like the modern Pennywise of the 2017 It movie cannot be picked here. Like Pennywise is not a modern horror villain or a post 2000s horror villain. He's been around for longer. That's what my stance on it.
Can Pennywise, it being the example, can Pennywise be picked twice throughout the rest of the draft?
Yes, like you could have Pennywise in Stephen King, and you could probably have Pennywise in your monster/creature category.
Just to clarify, can Pennywise be picked twice, as in Tim Curry's and also
Skarsgård's?
Yeah.
I'd say
and not
yes.
in the post 2000 section, because I understand your reasoning there, but otherwise these monsters that have been remade and recast, I think there's certainly versions that people like more, and maybe you want Curry's version and you don't want Skarsgård or vice versa.
I would say yes to that. I didn't even think about that, as long as it doesn't get too in the weeds. Like, for example,
not get too silly.
Like for slasher, you could pick Ghostface from the Scream franchise, but I don't really want to get into like Ghostface from Scream 4 when it's 5. This character.
Yeah, I'm cool.
Because there's been so many Ghostface killers. I would say that, but like I think that for some of those more iconic ones, like if you have a specific Dracula that you like or something, like you can note the one that you like. I think that's a really good point that I hadn't thought of. But yeah, like if multiple actors have portrayed the being that is Jason Voorhees, like I think it's lame to be like, I want Jason from this movie. Like, no, you're picking Jason.
Yeah, the only exception there I would say is Jason X, who is very obviously different, but only Jahan would pick Jason X.
And on that note,
Jason X was awesome.
Jason X came out in 2001, so you could technically take Jason X as your modern horror. I would allow that when it is
no way.
On it.
No way. That's the same thing as the Pennywise rule. It's already an existing horror villain from pre-2000. You can't do it.
Okay, that's fair.
That's not true. Jason X is from after.
No.
He has a metal mask. He's different.
Nope.
I didn't get to the last two categories we have, which one is cursed item, whether it be an amulet or a thing of some sort. I don't know. It could be anything. There's a lot of cursed items. And lastly, a cursed location, which I think...
One. Oh, man, I've got one. It's just like, that might be my first pick. I've got one.
And I think that can be... that can be anything from a house that's actually cursed to a iconic horror setting. I think that any of that kind of works. But I think while I'll put y'all on the spot while we're live. Are there any other categories you can think of off the top of your head that you might want to add here? It's the last minute.
At the end of the Star Wars one, we kind of did a dump stat where me and you both just picked some joke characters.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we could Maybe we could do a dump at the bottom.
Should I add
Razzie.
2?
Yeah, let's do a Razzie. I like that.
A Razzie.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
Razzie.
should I do it as like 2 spots that are essentially free spots or wild card spots, or should I make one that's intentionally like a silly pick?
Yeah, for shit.
Let's have a fun one.
Let's have a trash slot. Yeah.
Let's make sure it's for garbage. Yeah.
Okay.
I think
garbage.
that you can't talk horror without talking garbage.
Do you also want to add a wild card spot or just have the garbage spot?
I think we have enough slots as it is, to be honest with you.
Okay, perfect.
And that's because I am not. I'm not
13.
Look, man, I've seen horror movies. I know what they are. You know what I mean? But I'm not as deeply versed in cinema as Drew, and I'm not as totally into horror as Jahan. So I'm sort of the outlier here. So, I want to add as few categories from here as possible. I'm happy with what we've got.
I think also just in line, like when you talk about some that are a little bit more generic, like we talk a lot on this show that Jahan is a big zombie head, and zombies. I think like you could take zombie in your monster creature category, but like specify you're like I want zombies a la whatever classic franchise, or if you're like I want the fast zombies from you know 28 Days Later or whatever it may be. Like, I think that you can specify some of those depending on franchise.
They're infected.
You're right. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just fucking with you.
I know. Okay, so that being said, are we about ready to kick it off?
Yeah, man. Let me spin the wheel. I want to spin the wheel of destiny.
Okay, you have it up, Gary?
No, you have it up, but I want to spin it.
Okay. It is currently just spinning randomly. I can't share my screen. We were trying to do this before we went live and I couldn't make it work, but just please have good faith. I have this up on my screen. It has Gary, Drew, and Jahan on it. And Gary, when you hit the buzzer, I'm gonna click it. So you give me the word.
I'm gonna spin it.
It's spinning. With the first pick of the draft, it is Jahanana.
Yeah. Heart of the cards, motherfucker.
Man, it's weird because you want to cheer for him when he wins, and he's such a sore winner. He's such a. And then you just
Gary,
want him to lose.
I am gonna need you to hit the buzzer for me again because I have now removed Jahan from the spinner, so now it's just the two of us. So we get one more spin here.
Next time, just keep him off the spinner. We'll spin and then add him on the second time. All right, here we go. Let's hit the magical. Let's spin it, baby.
It's spinning. And it's gonna be Gary.
Yes, sir. That's me.
So the draft order will be Jahan, Gary, and then myself.
And then Drew, Gary, Jahan.
Correct. So this will be a snake-style draft. So we will then reverse
fresh
order.
Out the sandwich. I'm feeling good about this fresh sandwich, guys. I'm the meat of this fresh sandwich.
Jahan, the board is completely open here. You can choose anything that you want in any category. And category here is important. If you end up filling a category early and then you realize you could have put that character in a different category, you might hurt yourself here. So you have a lot of weight on your shoulders here. You have to think about this
it's easy.
Super hard.
It's an easy pick. My first pick is cursed item, the Necronomicon. What?
Great pick. That's a great first pick.
Thank you so much.
That is a really good pick. What made you choose the Necronomicon? It's the first overall pick.
That's
I love Evil Dead. It's one of the most iconic items. I mean, you have your cursed dolls, you have your magic amulets, but there's only one book. You know what I mean? Like that's the cursed book, and it is. I don't know. I've always enjoyed it, and also it kind of transcends the movies. It's in other things. There's actually been a written Necronomicon that was a fiction that talks about Alhazard the Wanderer. But yeah, that's neither here nor there.
All right, I think that's a really solid first pick. It's not at all what I was expecting for the first pick of the draft, so I'm impressed. So Gary, it's gonna go to you now.
I'm gonna go ahead. I told you I had a cursed location as soon as we talked about it. The Asylum from 13 Ghosts.
Ooh.
Bam! Give me that. Give me the Asylum from 13 Ghosts. I put it in my cursed location slot. Obviously, it is a location. It's hard to pick between the ghosts. You know what I mean? It's a cool movie. It's got some cool ghosts, but you sort of need the whole lineup to make it work. And the only way you get the whole lineup is if you get the Asylum. So yeah,
I'm gonna show my ass here. I have not seen the movie 13 Ghosts. Can you tell me what makes the Asylum so cool and worth taking here?
So the whole thing is you inherited this place type of movie, And the people who show up are like a detective and like a ghost sensitive person who have heard that the place is haunted.
And then the family, whose dad is Tony Shalhoub.
Nice.
It's so there are, as you can tell from the title, 13 ghosts, and each one of them has really badass prosthetics. They're super violent killed. One guy has railroad spikes like all driven through his head, and he carries a giant sledgehammer. One girl like is all bled out. It is a little graphic for me
The
now,
princess.
there you go.
The angry princess. Yes, sir.
Yeah, they all have names, they all have titles. And they are all cool, but again, I think you need all of them, right? There's no spin-off about one of the ghosts. They were all cool. You should check out 13 Ghosts. I think you'll like it. It's, one location, it's spooky, and the ghosts kill people, and that's it.
The plot of the movie is that 13 ghosts are assembled by an eccentric billionaire kind of guy who wants to use them in some sort of dark ritual.
I forgot that he brought them there.
They were brought there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the holding area that you're thinking of as the asylum, he built that in his house. And so it's like, it's a puzzle house, too. And so the house from 13, that's a good pick. That's a solid, I would not want to be in there, man.
I was having a really hard time verbalizing just how cool it is, and all I keep repeating is that it's cool and you should see it.
Dude, all the walls are see-through, but like they're enchanted so the ghosts can't walk through them. And it's like, it's this whole thing, man. It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it is a whole thing. It's a ghost trap death box, basically.
It's got Matthew Lillard as the psychic.
Put it on your list of things to watch this season. And that's for the listeners, too. If you guys haven't seen 13 Ghosts, it's old enough now. I'm sure it's out somewhere.
Dog, it's a solid Halloween pick, man.
Yeah, man. That's it. I'll take the Asylum, and Drew, the field is yours.
So I have two picks here in a row, so it doesn't really matter which one I take first of these two. But I think that while we're on the topic of location, I'm just going to go ahead and take a location as well because I really want this on my roster. For cursed location, I am taking the Overlook Hotel from The Shining.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
I love The Shining, the book and the movie, and I think the Overlook Hotel is one of the most iconic locations. The Alamo Drafthouse is famous for having the same carpeted pattern that's in the Shining movies. Or at least our local one here has it, and the one in Austin does as well. And Stephen King, notorious, was very vocal about the fact that he did not like Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of The Shining, and ended up, writing his own version that was made for television that nobody really talks about or watches. And the Overlook Hotel was actually brought back in Mike Flanagan's Dr. Sleep that he did back in 2019, and kind of gave Stephen King the ending to the original Shining movie, or Kubrick Shining movie that King would have preferred. So the Overlook Hotel, it's been in multiple films and used, and it's just iconic imagery. The room 237 is the spooky room in the movie, and just like who doesn't think of the Danny on the big wheel riding through the hallways, making those sharp turns, the two girls appearing at the end of the hallway. Yeah, I'm going to Overlook Hotel here. No questions asked. And then it's still gonna be me. And I think I'm actually going to go up to Monster Creature for my next pick. And it's because it's just one of my favorites from an iconography standpoint. I want to pick the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise.
Such a good pick! Oh, that's a fire pick. Damn.
I love the Xenomorph. As a kid, it scared me, and now it's just like I can go back and watch, Aliens and Alien, and just actually, you don't see the Xenomorph very much in the original Alien, but you get plenty of it in the James Cameron sequel. And yeah, the Xenomorph is my pick.
I am so pissed off. You picked the Xenomorph.
It wasn't on my list, but it probably should have been.
That was my next pick. I literally typed it out in the doc. And then when he said, I get another pick, I was like, oh crap. And I deleted it real quick. Then he said Xenomorph, and I was like, this dude saw my pick.
I didn't. Hand on my heart, I didn't. I must have had a different web page up. I didn't see it. I promise you.
I can tell. I believe you. I believe your honesty. But you really threw me for one there, man. I didn't think that Xenomorph was going to get snagged right out from
That's
under
a top.
me,
That's a top shelf pick.
All right.
That would have been cold blooded had I seen it, but I promise you, I didn't.
It would have been funny had you seen it.
Man, absolutely just rocked my world on that one. I am also going to go... I'm going to call this a monster creature. I'm pretty sure I could call it a lot of different things on this list. I could argue either way. But I'm going to go with Pinhead from Hellraiser as my first monster creature.
That's fair.
I think there's an argument to be made about... do paranormal ghost, right? That's
Right.
I would say you could put him in either, yeah.
You could even make him a slasher because those Pinhead movies
Kinda.
are super slashery, but I'm going to put him in monster creature.
Yeah, this is where I talk about getting into the overlap, because I was thinking about this before. Like, if you choose, okay, say The Exorcist. You know, there's a new Exorcist movie out now in theaters, but say, the demon that possesses Reagan in the original Exorcist movie is Pazuzu, right? So, like, would you take... This is where you get into the weeds. It's like, would it be Pazuzu as a monster creature? Would that be paranormal? Or do you choose Reagan possessed by Pazuzu? Like, there's kind of weird gray areas for some of these.
It's probably Reagan slash, and yeah, you're right. You could do it either way, either paranormal or monster creature.
Yeah, so we'll get into that, but when it comes to it. But
and I'm not taking the... I did like the newer version, the female version of Pinhead, and I know she wasn't him, but she was the leader of their little group. But I'm going to take the original Pinhead, the iconic male version.
All right, so Pinhead, the next pick. So Jahan, we are now back to you. So your cursed item is the only spot you've taken, and you will now get 2 picks in a row.
2 picks in a row. I already know what they are. For my first pick here, since it's my second pick, I'm gonna go ahead and knock out Zombie on Monster Creature. We're gonna go ahead and put that.
Shocking.
We'll go classic. We'll go classic Shambler here. Walking Dead style zombie, like the undead, destroy the brain. You know, they're not alive, they're not infected, contagious bite, the whole 9. Romero zombies, essentially.
Perfect.
Obviously, surprise to no one, I wanted it. And then...
hey, you know what, though? You got to be true to yourself. I like it. I think that, you're being you. This is totally respectable.
And then I'm going to go ahead and go paranormal ghost on this one. I consider this a paranormal creature because it is a form of demonic possession. It is a specific form known as the Deadite.
Just going all in on Evil Dead over here.
I love Evil Dead, dog.
You basically took zombies twice.
I basically took zombies twice. Yeah, don't think I won't.
Deadite, Zombie, and Necronomicon. Just the most Jahan list so far.
Yeah, that's it. I did it. I'm already happy with my list. I can stop now.
I have a wonderful memory of coming up to Oklahoma University when you were working at the movie theater up there, Drew, and we went to go see the Friday the 13th reboot. One of those many times. It had to have been around 2011 or maybe 10, something like that.
Yeah, yep.
And
I recall.
That, for me, was one of my favorite Friday the 13th movies, one of my favorite Jason movies. I laughed out loud at multiple kills in that movie. And for that reason, I am taking Jason Voorhees as my slasher.
The first slasher goes to Gary. Jason Voorhees, the quintessential slasher. Not a bad pick, sir.
Yeah, man, I can't leave this without having Jason Voorhees. You know what I mean? I would have made a trade before we left the table if I had to.
This is good. I was honestly kind of nervous that we were gonna get into like such interesting, weird picks that like these iconic characters like Jason Voorhees would end up getting left off the table. So I'm glad that we have an iconic horror villain on the list already. So this is good. This is good. Okay, so then that
I could probably
means
put our draft up there.
that it's me. And this is tough. I'm actually probably going to go with a couple of iconic picks here as well. I'm gonna pick in slasher. I'm gonna pick Michael Myers. I am a big fan of the Halloween franchise in general. The entries, of course, are definitely extreme, varying.
Ranging in quality.
Yeah, yeah. I love the original. I think that there are some okay entries from the original run. I really liked the David Gordon Green reboot or slash legacy sequel that came out in 2018. The sequels to that in that trilogy less so, but I just like Michael Myers a lot. The shape and how he's as close to being he's not close to being undead. He's a man, but he's the shape. He's almost like a man possessed, and it takes a lot to bring him down. I love that the mask is an old like William Shatner Captain Kirk mask that they used in Bleach to have the effect. Like, I love all the lore behind the actual mask and John Carpenter creating the look for Michael Myers. Yeah, I'm going Michael Myers here as my slasher pick. Which then brings me to a second pick here in a row. And I've been perusing things, but I'm not fully set on anything here, so I'm vamping a little bit for time. I'm thinking that I'm gonna go. This is so predictable, but I can't help it.
For what it's worth, I'm surprised that you went with Michael Myers first, because I know you are a fan of the other slasher franchise. Let's see. I figure you were gonna go for what's his name? Ghostface. I figure you're a Scream guy. I've heard you talk about Scream a lot. I'm surprised that you went Michael Myers over Ghostface.
I also thought he was going to go Ghostface over.
I do like the Scream franchise a lot, but I feel like that's more for the meta commentary, more so than Ghostface itself as a horror icon. I'm actually probably going to go with Stephen King here, and I am going to choose Pennywise. I actually thought this would be one of the first picks taken off the board from one of you earlier, just because, and maybe that's my own thoughts kind of creeping in there, but I find Pennywise to be truly scary. And to specify here, I am taking the Bill Skarsgård version from the newer films over the Tim Curry version. I think that the new version of Pennywise is truly frightening. If I were in a haunted house setting or something of the sort and somebody was dressed as Pennywise, I would probably be visibly uncomfortable just being in the presence of it. I didn't have like an overwhelming fear of clowns as a child or anything like that, but I just find Pennywise to be scary. If you saw Pennywise on the street, you would be scared. Like there was those viral stories a few years ago of like clowns tormenting people at night, whatever. Just clowns are scary. And I actually might have another clown on my list later. Minor, maybe that's a little tease for something to come.
And unless I pick him up first, because he's on my list too.
Ooh, interesting. Well, it does go back to you, Gary. Those were my two picks.
It goes back to me. I'm not trying to pick him up yet, though, so let's hope that he stays out there a little bit longer for us. I was just looking at this. Oh, yeah, another slasher. I come on, guys. Freddy Krueger, give it to me.
You got them both. You got the pair, man. That's solid.
Yeah. Gary taking Freddy and Jason. You can have your own Freddy versus Jason.
Solid, dude.
Versus
storyline going on in your own roster.
Yeah, but for me, it's Freddy versus Jason versus Pinhead at the asylum with the 13 ghosts. So I'm cooking up a film over here.
Hollywood, you taking notes here?
Do I need to explain why I'm taking the man who can enter your
you don't
nightmare?
need to, but absolutely you should.
And every second that you try to stay awake, you start to have those microseconds of sleep. Freddy is closer and closer and closer to getting you, and he will. And it doesn't matter if you kill him, destroy him, do whatever. All that must remain is a memory and a tale for a dream for Freddy to come back. Absolutely iconic, terrifying villain. Even if he didn't become as cartoony and cheesy as he has become, I think that's just such a cool storyline for even an X-Men villain or something like that. Someone who, so long as they're remembered, you'll have a nightmare about them, and if you tell anybody, they'll have a nightmare, and they'll have a nightmare. Like something like Shadow King, could use that. I think it's an awesome power. Not to mention, when he's in your dreams, he controls everything and then kills you. If you die in the dream, you die in the real world. So, taking Freddy, I got Freddy and Jason. Jahan, ball's back in your court.
So the reason I was really upset when Gary started talking about Ghostface Killer for you, Drew, because this is mine. I'm taking Ghostface Killer.
Oh, nice.
Wow, I didn't realize that you were a Scream guy.
I love Scream. Ghostface Killer is awesome. I feel like Scream was really the horror of our generation. And it showed me that you could make things new. You know what I mean? You can have fresh ideas.
I believe the first Scream movie came out in 1996. Yes, 1996. I would have been 7 years old when it came out, and I can vividly remember the phenomenon that was Scream.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I was not old enough to see it. It's not like I did see it, but I knew Ghostface, and I knew that Scream was a popular film. Like, I knew
Ghostface.
Popular.
I probably saw it too early. I had an older brother. And my older brother loves horror and Scream, so like, it's I don't know. I guess like my family was into this kind of stuff, so I got to see it. And Ghostface is awesome, man. Ghostface is iconic. I feel like if you ask anyone of the younger generation, like who one of the most iconic slashers is, they would hit you with Ghostface. Ghostface is great. And for my Universal monster, I'm going to take the Universal Remonster from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. The movie. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just.
I was about to squash that so quickly. That would have been your garbage. That could go in your garbage category, and that's about it.
Oh,
that's
man.
Actually pretty funny, though.
Yeah, I was just that was a funny one.
That's good. I like that.
I am going to snatch up a Universal monster real quick here, just so it doesn't get taken. I'm going to grab me some Dracula. I love me some vampires. I love me some vampires. Of all the Universal monsters, I feel like he's the most iconic, and I'm all in on that.
Do you have like a specific take of Dracula that you prefer? Like, are you taking the like the original Universal monsters Dracula? Are you taking like a Bram Stoker's Dracula?
More Bram Stoker's Dracula, definitely. I love. God, what's the movie? It's been so long since I've seen it, but that's what I think of when I think of Dracula. The like one of the first ones in color, where he's wearing like that crazy robe and has his hair like up in like cones. He looks ridiculous. I don't know.
But you're not taking like the Bela Lugosi.
I'm not taking Bela Lugosi.
Old school. But there's Christopher Lee has played Dracula. You got Gary Oldman. Even Luke Evans has portrayed Dracula.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was just curious.
I just like lots of portrayals of him. I like Dracula 2000. I enjoy vampires in general, and Dracula is their father. So.
Rock on. Okay, so let's see. That was your two picks, correct? Yeah. So now we're back to Gary.
Man, you guys have stalled long enough that I should have picked something by now, but it's already getting into difficult territory, believe it or not.
It's difficult for me too, man.
I'm looking into cursed items, right? I'm like, dang, he's got the Necronomicon, and then I start kicking myself because
this was your category, Gary. You actually suggested this one. I figured you had something
I
up
know
your
what I
sleeve
did.
for it.
No, I know what I did though. No, I have another location, but we only have one location spot, and so I've cornered myself. That's all right. I'll send Jahan a message, and he can have my location. Really, I guess. It's the
Take it
cube,
for
man.
you.
How did I miss the cube? The freaking cube from the cube.
Oh man, the cube's
Okay.
solid, man.
Yeah,
Cube's
sure,
solid.
man.
Yeah, I'm just
I
so
would argue
stuck.
that could be an item, but that's just
Yeah, it's a building.
it's a mechanism, though. You know what I
It
mean?
is. It is a mechanism. It was built,
Why don't you
and
take
it's not
the cube
technically
from
hurt.
Pinhead? Pinhead's cube.
That was going to be my next choice. Was the puzzle box from Pinhead.
Yeah.
Um,
Hellraiser.
so
Yeah, a little. Yeah.
yeah, I'll take my puzzle box. I'll take my Pandora's box. I believe it's called the Lament puzzle box. Lament configuration. Lament something. I'll take the Lament puzzle box from Hellraiser, and I'll take it with vigor. And I know what I want for my post 2000 movie, Drew. So you better not take it on my way back.
Okay. Hellraiser puzzle cube. Is that right? Am I putting this right? Okay.
That is correct. The Lament configuration puzzle box, but Hellraiser cube works just fine. We know what it means.
Puzzle. I'll put puzzle box. I'll put box. Okay, I am ready to take something in my paranormal ghost category.
All right, ghost boy, ghost away.
If you say his name 3 times, he may appear. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice
What?
is my pick.
That's not.
I love Beetlejuice, and we're getting a sequel here in the next year or so. I think it was delayed due to strike issues, but Michael Keaton returning to Beetlejuice. This is one of those movies that I discovered when I was pretty young, and I think we had it taped on a VHS, and I watched it repeatedly and really enjoyed it. And I just think that Keaton's performance is hilarious, and he can be scary when he wants to be. And so I'm taking Beetlejuice in Paranormal Ghost.
That's a good pick.
And this is where it gets tough.
I had such a good one now.
I have 2 things. I have another ghost that I want to take, but I'm gonna wait, and I'm scared. Hopefully Patrick Swayze is still on the board when I get back to it, or next time around. But no, I'm gonna go. I think with my cursed item. You know what? No, I can save that. You both have already picked items, so I don't have to worry about my item being chosen.
Yeah, you can save
no.
it for last. Yeah.
Yeah, I can mess around here. I think I'm gonna take for Universal Monster. I'm gonna take the creature from the Black Lagoon. I like the Fishman creature. I just have always been kind of drawn to the imagery. I like that Guillermo del Toro made a strange creature from the Black Lagoon modern love story that you can interpret these things not just in standard horror but in other contexts. And yeah, I'm gonna go from the creature from the Black Lagoon as my Universal Monster pick.
Because you want to have sex with it?
Like fish people?
I mean, I was trying to be coy, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's pretty easy to read between the lines here.
It's a double entendre. You were trying to be coy.
Ah!
Oh no! Oh, that's such a good joke, but I hate it.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
All
And
right,
it is
you guys-
now back to you, Gary.
You guys have done Universal Monsters, and instead of holding mine for the end like some kind of protected pick, I'll go ahead and get mine out of the way.
Oh, some shade has been thrown.
Fair.
Is it
With
the
the
Wolfman, Gary?
Wolfman.
It's the Wolfman.
Wolfman, baby.
Wolfman's
You
a good
already
pick.
know. Wolfman on the list.
Wolfman's a good pick.
I don't have a lot to say here, guys. I like werewolves, and Wolfman is the iconic werewolf. If you only had to pick one, you pick Wolfman. So there he is. He's on my list. I've got a werewolf now.
It was a toss up for me, Doug. It was a toss up for me. Shit, I have to pick 2 now.
Did you see the 2010 Wolfman movie with Benicio del Toro by any chance?
I did not.
The one with
it's
Hannibal in it.
I think he was in it. Is that? Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was good. That was a good one.
It was like a huge flop when it came out, but I worked at the movie theater at that time, and I went and saw it, and I remember thinking that movie was kind of fun, kind of good. So yeah.
Werewolf movies are always a little corny. They're always a little cheesy. The costumes always look kind of bad, and I don't know, man. Like, what was that one we watched most recently? Werewolf by Night that I watched and we talked about. It was fine, but the werewolf's a little corny. It's always going to be a little corny. I like it. I like the more the like mental imagery of the werewolf. It's pretty corny on screen.
Typically.
All right. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. We're at Jahan, right? Yeah. Jahan, Becky, you get 2 picks.
I got to pick 2. For modern horror post 2000, what am I picking? A movie or?
No, you still have to pick an entity. Is what I would say.
An entity
for that.
From okay.
Yes.
Should I pick zombies for a third time?
How would you twist it in this scenario? I'm genuinely curious.
The Infected from 28 Days Later.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I would say this would be the World War Z zombies, which is the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, more or less the same thing.
Let me see. Well, I'm going to think on that one. All right, so for monster creature, I'm going to grab my next favorite creature from my next favorite franchise. I'm going to take the Graboid.
The what now?
Whoa, he goes to Tremors. Look at this guy.
Yeah, the Graboid from Tremors.
Okay.
Goes underground for his pick.
The creature of metamorphosis. I love Tremors. I've seen every single movie more than once, and even the bad ones. So I'm a big fan. Had to grab this one as my creature pick because I love a good creature feature. They don't necessarily have the same vibes as horror. They're not necessarily like it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't make it hard to sleep at night. But they're always a good watch. Always a good watch. And then slasher Stephen King. It's a hard pick, man. I'm not the biggest Stephen King guy. It's hard for me.
And I am. I have so many Stephen King.
So many
I mean,
picks,
I already have The Overlook and Pennywise, and I have a potential other Stephen King thing I might take later. I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I have a slasher I could take. Yeah, I'm gonna take another shot at slasher here for my last one. Kind of a off the beaten path a little bit. I'm gonna go with Buffalo Bill.
Wow. From
Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. I almost said from Hannibal.
No, that's
Buffalo Bill's pretty creepy.
That's a good fucking creepy, fucked up serial killer right there.
That's a creepy feller.
He's gonna make you into a lampshade.
Is that one of the most the whole it puts the lotion on its skin? Is that?
Oh yeah,
that's one of the most iconic lines from a horror movie.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you can even Silence of the Lambs is like barely a horror movie. It's terrifying in its own right, but like, yeah, like one of the most iconic lines from the '90s, right? Puts lotion on its skin.
No,
I'd fuck me. Yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. It's one of the most quoted things ever. I almost went with Hannibal. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with Buffalo Bill. Because that's solid. I almost went for my paranormal pick with Bill Cosby from Ghost Dad. But then I was like, no, can't do that.
That is funny and creepy, though.
It is funny and creepy.
Yeah, please don't. Please just don't.
Do not have your teenage daughters do not have a slumber party in that house.
No, absolutely not.
All right. So I'm taking it from you, Jahan. I'm taking the reins. Puff, pass, baby. I'm going into modern horror post 2000s with the aliens from Signs, the M. Night Shyamalan hit Signs.
Interesting pick.
That's an
interesting big fan of the Signs aliens. I think they're really creepy, and the way that they mostly keep them off screen. All you know is that they're fast, they're strong, they're quiet, and they want in. And that's very, very uncomfortable. Why do you want in? Just go away.
What's
like
your defense to the argument of how, not the smartest move for them to come to a planet that's, so heavily made of water, which is their weakness? What's your defense there?
I mean, I've never been asked to defend an M. Night Shyamalan movie before.
I guess that's, what, when you put it in those terms, yeah, maybe it's just not even worth trying to.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like, right, if they landed in Texas, they would have moisture on them just from the fog in the air, and then they would have, caustic skin probably and be in bad shape. I like to think that they're here to eat brains, and this is the only place to come to eat brains.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. I think you've justified yourself, and I accept. And that means that the ball is going to be back to me. And I've actually been sitting here juggling between a few different modern horror entries as well. This is tough.
This is getting hard, yeah.
It is. It's because now I'm like, there's things that I didn't know if they'd be off the table, so that I wouldn't have to worry about it, but they're still on the table, and I'm like, oh, do I want this or that? Like, or do I choose the more inspired pick or go with the more iconic pick? I'm gonna go with modern horror. I'm gonna choose The Tethered from Us, Jordan Peele's Us. Ooh. I love the look of the red jumpsuits and the giant gold scissors and the creepy, wide-eyed, kind of vacant looks that The Tethered have in this movie. And I do remember when it came out, it was like, that was kind of the Halloween craze that year. You'd see a lot of people dressed as The Tethered from Us. Although shout out to my boy Jigsaw, who I considered taking here. His little clown doll that rides around on a little tricycle. That's what I was debating here, but I wanted to go with something a little bit more unique, so I'm going with The Tethered from Us.
Clown doll have some kind of fantastic name like Billy?
I think his name is Billy.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
It's Billy the something.
Jigsaw puppet name. That's my Google search just now, and Billy is the puppet. Well, there you go. I wouldn't have even known that. See, now that justifies me not taking it. I feel like for me to have taken that pick, I would have needed to know that, and I didn't. So I would have been a hack. I would have been.
Before we started doing this today, since we had talked about it last week, I was thinking about, right, I'm not trying to take it now, but when I was thinking about taking Jigsaw, I wondered if it came with Billy, because Billy's not a killer. It's not a killer doll, right? The doll doesn't do the murder. But then if you pick Jigsaw, do you get the doll? Because you gotta have the doll.
My answer would be yes. Like, I don't know if you can take Jigsaw as a slasher. Like, he almost kind of fits the bill, but not in the traditional sense. I guess really the only thing he could fit in otherwise is modern horror. But
I think
if you choose,
absolutely qualifies. Personally, that's my opinion.
Okay, yeah, I'd say if you choose John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, that Billy the Puppet comes with it. Yeah, cool. I would say so.
Yeah, puppets don't move on their own, friend.
And then
unless they do.
Gives you a second pick, Drew. Yeah, you're still on your second pick.
I am gonna go. I'm gonna go back to Paranormal Ghost, and y'all are probably gonna get mad at me because Beetlejuice is like, even though Beetlejuice is iconic, he's not like straight up horror. Like, the Beetlejuice movie is almost more of a comedy. And I'm gonna kind of do the same for Ghost again here, but it's because I have to have Slimer from.
Oh, okay.
Slimer, yeah.
I have to take Slimer from Ghostbusters. Gary, your brother would probably have our heads if somebody here didn't take some sort of Ghostbusters.
Eventually, if someone didn't take Slimer, it would have been. I would have picked him up. Don't worry.
Yeah. So I'm gonna take 13. Slimer here.
I got 13 ghosts earlier for the price of one, so I'm not hurting for ghosts right now.
So let's see. That puts me at 8 picks. Gary, it's going back to you. You currently have 7. This will be your 8th pick.
So I'm going Stephen King. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way. I'm going to go with Randall Flagg, actually. Though he may not be the most iconic of a horror franchise, I really do like The Stand. which is maybe not horror so much as more of a modern sci-fi, I guess. It's like a sci-fi set now.
It's pretty harrowing in its own way.
It is certainly harrowing in its own way. I like The Stand. It's probably my favorite of Stephen King's work.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
I'm the same. It's one of my favorite of his book. I wish it had a better. Wish we had a better adaptation of it. They tried to do the one that was on Paramount Plus recently, and it just didn't do it though.
It was almost good.
It was. I agree. It just didn't catch on mainstream, unfortunately.
No, that's true. It didn't catch on mainstream. The original Stand made-for-TV series was fine, but the Paramount one I thought was really good. And it's not great. It's not 10 out of 10. I see why it's a series and not a movie or anything. But I like it, and I think Jahan would like it. I think a lot of people might like The Stand. So if you have Paramount Plus, maybe check out The Stand this season. Randall Flagg is my pick for my Stephen King villain.
It's not bad.
And Randall Flagg has been portrayed by Alexander Skarsgård in that series. He's also been portrayed by Matthew McConaughey in the Dark Tower film. And I'm trying to remember who played Randall Flagg in that TV miniseries.
Yeah,
Castle
I don't
Rock?
actually.
Is Randall Flagg in Castle Rock also?
Oh, I don't know.
I'm looking. TV actor. Who was it? I feel like it's somebody.
Jamie Sheridan.
Oh yeah,
Matthew
okay.
McConaughey and Alexander Skarsgård. And I actually will take the Jamie Sheridan version from the original TV series. I think he's pretty strange and terrifying in some way.
Yeah, he had the long hair.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And Randall Flagg, for those of you who don't know, he basically is the devil. He is the guy at the crossroads, the pitch black eyes, just sin incarnate, evil, bad. He's bad. He's evil. He's the evil guy. So that's me. I want the evil guy as my.
It's a good one. It's a good pick.
You.
Like I said, not the biggest Stephen King guy. I'm going to go ahead and knock my choice out here with The Mist from The Mist because I enjoyed that movie. So
are you picking the mist itself, like the actual vapor in the air, or are you choosing the large monsters that reside in the mist?
You don't get one without the other, so I'm going to say the mist itself.
All right, fair enough.
And all that dwell within. Yeah.
Fair. I'll allow it. I'll allow it for this. I mean, who am I to gatekeep in such ways?
I mean, even if he had the mist and you thought he only had the mist, what if he had the monsters in the mist the whole time?
The monster, yeah, that's fair.
I think my eyes just spun a little bit. Yeah, sure.
I'm thinking, I have some trouble here. I feel like this pick would, I don't know, man. I don't know if people like this pick. I'm not sure. So I'm stuck on paranormal and modern. Curse location. I know my curse location. I'll go with that one. I think I'm gonna take a classic, iconic horror location. Actually, I'm torn. Right. So there's two that sit very, very iconic in my mind. One is Crystal Lake.
Good location.
It's very iconic. But then the Jahan answer is. When I think zombie, what a lot of people think zombie, they think, what do they think? Mall, right?
I was going to say the mall from Dawn of the Dead. That's a good answer, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go mall. I'm going to go zombie mall.
That's a fun answer, and it's an answer I didn't see coming. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I was thinking, because, it's in video games, you know what I mean? Like, Dead Rising is all up in that mall, several times. It's just... I really enjoy it as a setting for zombies. So
Yep. I like it. All right. So Gary, that puts it back in your court. You still have a monster creature to pick. You still have both paranormal ghost slots open, and you have your garbage slot, which I assume we're all saving our garbage slot for the end. So we'll leave that.
That is correct. I'm going to go monster here. I'm going to go monster creature, and I'm going to go with the Cloverfield monster.
Ooh, good pick. I like that monster design.
That's a good pick. I was looking at Cloverfield.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually liked Cloverfield, and then I love
Cloverfield.
I liked the second aren't there 3? Cloverfield.
Yeah,
and then there's a
13
second one.
Cloverfield Lane was the one
Mhm.
with Mary
John
Elizabeth
Goodman.
Winstead and John Goodman. Yeah, that
That one
one's
was
good.
great. Love that one. So I like the series, and I think it just gets. I don't know. I don't think it gets enough love. Everyone likes a kaiju, and I think the Godzilla movies are kind of stale. But the Cloverfield movies with the found footage style, it's the same thing you've seen a million times. It's just not as stale from the point of impact.
It was good. I'll agree with you.
So give me
Okay.
that 40-story tall world destroying monster, please.
So this goes back to me then, does it? Oh boy. Okay. For my slasher pick, I am going to go with something a little bit newer, a newer character. One of the most viral sensations of last year was the film Terrifier 2. And the main villain of Terrifier and Terrifier 2 is Art the Clown, and he is pretty terrifying. He doesn't talk, but he murders people real good. And yeah, the first Terrifier was like a kind of indie horror success story from I want to say like 2018-ish, and then Terrifier 2 was made for like not very much money last year and ended up kind of going viral. I saw it at Fantastic Fest last year, and it's great. A little long, but Art the Clown, super scary. If you haven't seen him or you're not familiar, Terrifier 2 made for $250,000 and it made over $15 million. So the return rate on that is kind of insane. But yeah, Art the Clown from Terrifier 2. I'll send y'all plenty of gifs of him. I think he's horrifying, and I want to take him to show my indie horror dedication as of late.
Was
So
not the clown I had on my list.
who was
I
the
think I
one that
ran
you
out
had?
of- I think I ran out of space for my clown, but it was going to be Captain Spaulding. I'm a big Spaulding fan.
Oh yeah, that's a great pick too.
That's a good
and
pick.
I don't want to put him in garbage because I think people would be super mad. That's the last spot I have for him.
Shout out to Chucky was the other character that I was debating for that slasher spot because I just think the Child's Play franchise is silly and fun, and
You
Chucky
can
is
still
so.
put Chucky straight into your garbage spot. Your garbage spot's wide open for Chucky.
Oh, I think I already know what I'm going to take there, and it's a pretty garbage pick. So I'll hold off. I'll jump to my cursed item, and I'm going to put Annabelle, the Annabelle doll here,
That's a good pick.
from the Conjuring franchise, because I have talked in here. I think when we were talking about the Nun movies and other Conjuring movies, I have always talked about how when I was a child I had a fear of dolls, and when I first saw the 2013 Conjuring movie, the prologue of that movie opens with the Annabelle story, and I almost noped my way out of that theater at that point. I found that little bit to be scary, and the design of the modern Annabelle doll is truly horrifying, and so I want to pay tribute to that by putting it here on my list. Shout out to the car from Christine, which I was debating putting here, which would have been another Stephen King pick, another movie that I like a lot, a Carpenter movie. But yeah, I'm going with Annabelle, and that puts it back to you, Gary.
It's not bad.
Oh boy. Oh.
Oh, Gary's
baby.
got 2 paranormals.
Yeah, and
He does.
I think my first one is going to be. I don't know the character's name, but I think we all remember the scene from The Sixth Sense. Whenever Haley Joel Osment is in the tent.
Oh yeah. The little girl that was getting pine soled.
Yeah, and she pukes all over the place, and it's super. Yeah, that one.
Bro, I remember that when I was a kid. It was terrifying.
Same.
Yeah, it was.
Exact same, and
Terrifying.
that's why I'm taking it. We remember that scene, and for that reason, I.
In hindsight, like it was fine, but like, man, when that movie did something, dude. That movie did something special.
That's another M. Night Shyamalan pick for me, actually, I just realized. But yeah, I think that M. Night Shyamalan, even though he's not great now, I think he did do something for horror.
The Sixth Sense is one of the best Shyamalans to ever Shyamalan. Like, that was...
And And I like Signs, man. Those are two that I will do. You know, I like them. They're good movies.
Those are two solid picks, man. I can't.
I mean,
I'm not gonna shit on
Shyamalan, between Sixth Sense and Unbreakable and Signs, all in a row, everybody was like, "Oh, Shyamalan is the new Spielberg." Like that
like
was
he
the
can do
that was
no
the level
wrong.
of hype he got at the time. And then The Village was a little bit more divisive, and then Lady in the Water, everybody was like, "This guy's a hack."
Yep, poor guy. He never recovered from that. But yeah, this is still when he was making hot fire movies, and the ghost girl from The Sixth Sense is my first pick for paranormal. And I've got my second one as well, but I've got to hold it for my next pick. Jahan, take it away.
Tell me what it is so I can pick it.
The Predator.
Oh, for paranormal, get out of here. Shit, you made me forget what my pick was.
Was it a ghost or was it a modern horror?
It was a spooky boy. Oh yeah,
Not that
so
it matters.
my
You
question,
have to basically take both of those here.
my question was, does the paranormal creature have to be the bad guy?
I would say no, because I picked Slimer, and Slimer's not the bad guy.
Awesome.
Yeah, you could pick Bruce Willis if you wanted to.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
pick The Crow
Yo,
from the
what a
movie
pick.
The Crow. Yeah, absolutely, the
Hell
Revenant
yeah.
from The Crow. Hell yeah. Some of those
I
sequels are
joked.
not bad.
I joked about it, but if you had actually picked Patrick Swayze from Ghost, I wouldn't argue it. I mean, it is a ghost.
Honestly, that movie, like, I put off watching it for a long time because of the infamous pottery scene. I thought it was just a silly romance movie. That movie's really good, man. That's a good movie.
I want to hear the Jahan Ghost podcast. That needs to be a thing.
Hell yeah, man. At the end, they drag me away. Ah! So for my modern horror, I'm having trouble, man. I'm having trouble here. I'm torn between kind of three things. The vampires from 30 Days of Night. Those were some of the best vampires to ever do it. The creatures from The Descent, which is a claustrophobic monster movie horror nightmare that's totally girl-powered. It's pretty badass. And then, this is the pick that I feel might be controversial. This is the one I'm thinking. Megan Fox from Jennifer's Body. I think that she killed it as that demon. I feel like that movie's underrated.
That movie rules.
I think that
I'm
movie
with you.
rules, man. Yeah, I'm gonna put Jennifer from Jennifer's Body as my modern horror pick.
Yeah, I'll allow it. I'm cool with that.
And that is, there are other things that I would consider, but it's like I have vampires represented. I got zombies like three ways up here. I can kind of chill. Like I don't want to take Train to Busan zombies. You know what I mean? Like now I'm just splitting hairs, so I'm gonna go ahead and this. I don't have a lot of demon representation, so I'm gonna throw Jennifer from Jennifer's Body.
I would say for that modern horror post 2000s slot, would you say maybe the most iconic horror villain to come from the post 2000s era would be The Ring, the girl from The Ring, Samara? Like that's
I almost picked that one, but honestly, like I never really saw those movies. I wasn't really into it.
I'm not either. I'm just trying to think of like as far as horror iconography, you know, what is the most iconic modern one? You know what I mean? I don't know.
The Ring and the girl from The Grudge,
Yeah,
sort of.
the girl from The Grudge was almost my paranormal pick because that movie fucked me up, dude. That
They
movie was
almost blend
scary.
together. They came out like back to back, and it's the Japanese version of a ghost, right? Which is the all-white dress, little girl,
Bro,
long
alright.
black hair.
One girl comes out of TV when you watch a cursed tape, right?
Yeah,
The other girl comes out from underneath your covers because you moved into the wrong house, okay? Like those, I feel like one of
I
those
feel like
is
I could
scarier.
just put my TV outside. And
Yeah.
not have to worry about her. But the other way, I'm screwed.
Bro, I
She's
used to
coming
tuck
out the
myself
walls.
in so tight so that she couldn't materialize, bro. You have no idea.
All right, I got a paranormal ghost pick here. It's back to me, and I'm gonna take a very iconic one from The Shining. I'm gonna take the twins.
It's not bad.
Yep.
It's not
I
bad.
feel like they're very,
They're iconic.
ghosts, and there's something about little girls. Little girls are scary. The Japanese got it right. Little girls are creepy. When I used to be on patrol, I would tell my sergeant, like, bro, if I'm like out here one night at 1 a.m. and some little girl just comes like walking straight down the street, straight at my squad car, I'm out of here. Like, I know
For
that she
sure.
probably wandered out of her house and I need to help a little girl get home, but I'm gone. I'm getting in the car and I'm leaving and I'm clocking out early. I'm out, bro. You can't. No creepy little girl walking down the street at me. And for that reason, I'm taking the twins.
They find the girl like a couple days later. She didn't make it, and you're like, "I'm sorry, man. Your kid was creepy."
Yo, man, you gotta teach your kid not to be so effing spooky all the time, man. She's walking down the street looking at me with glazed eyes. No, that's so. I think there's something iconic about spooky little girls, and the more the merrier, I guess. I take the Sixth Sense spooky little girl, and I'll take the 2 from The Shining.
Okay, so that puts it back to me. And my monster creature pick, in a way, I'm surprised is still on the board because in hindsight, I'm like, how did I not pick this in the first round? But I'm going back to the well of John Carpenter, and I'm taking The Thing as my.
I was also wondering. I was
monster
surprised.
creature.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, The Thing is great, and takes many forms. It's hard to even define it, whether it's a head with spider legs or it's just a huge abomination emerging from somebody's torso. Like, there's a lot of different ways that it appears, but ultimately The Thing is the ultimate mistrust in your colleagues, wondering who has been taken over by this thing or who hasn't, and driving you insane in that way. And then when you do finally see it, it's perfectly gross and hilarious. And yeah, so I'm choosing The Thing as my creature pick.
Yeah, man,
That's
just like Legion in fucking Denzel Washington's Fallen, dude. It's just scary, man.
Everybody, a shapeshifter's always terrifying, man. If it could be anybody, that's always a good, scary story. But that leaves us, Drew, with our favorite picks, doesn't it?
It does. Now we are in our garbage round, which
Trash picks.
I probably have more picks I'm debating here for my garbage pick than I did for any other category, which is kind of funny in hindsight.
I know mine. I know it. I know it. I know it.
I'm scared of one of the ones that I'm thinking of being like stealing yours. I also have a pick that it's like kind of 3 picks, and y'all probably won't allow it, and so I don't know. I'm debating here. And I take Jahan, you or I can't remember actually which of y'all mentioned it, but one of y'all threw out Casper the Friendly Ghost earlier in the ghost category.
That was me. I said it.
But can I take as one pick Casper's 3 uncles, Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky, in this slot?
Of course.
It is technically 3 characters, but they do almost operate as a unit. If I can take all 3, I think that's what I'd like to do. So I will take Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky from Casper the Friendly Ghost.
I feel like you can defend that, because if you took the Three Stooges, they are a character.
Right.
And I think the same. The uncles are a character.
Are they were Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky created for the 90s Casper movie, or have they always been part of Casper lore? I'm honestly not sure.
I feel like they've always been there in like the old cartoons, but it's hard to say.
Oh yeah, they sure are from like the old comic books. Oh yeah, the Ghostly Trio first appeared in 1945 in The Friendly Ghost. So there you go.
What's your garbage? What's your garbage pick, Gary?
My garbage pick is the man, the myth, the
Oh,
legend himself, the king of small people, Warwick Davis, in The Leprechaun.
That's a good pick.
I loved it.
Oh, that's a good pick. Oh man. See, I was gonna go with something super obscure. I was gonna do the worst zombies I've ever seen, which are the ones from Dead and Breakfast. Uh, but
John choosing another variation of zombie for his garbage pick would. I'm talking about your roster being on brand. That maybe would just be the cherry on top.
no,
Two on.
it's too on brand. Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna go with a movie I actually think was a lot better than the hype. Because this is known as an 80s or 70s like trash movie. I'm gonna go with, since we're doing multiples, all the killer clowns from outer space.
Yes. Oh,
I almost
yes.
took that, and that was the pick that I was scared was going to be stealing Gary's pick.
Do you guys know that there's a Killer Clowns from Outer Space
I
game
do.
coming out that's like 7 versus 3? It's like 3 overpowered clowns, and you trying to not get smashed by them. What?
I can't wait to
Come on,
play
guys.
that. Yeah, I want to play
Yeah,
that with
why
you.
are we
Brian.
not playing this already?
I believe they also had one of the recent. I don't know if it was last year or year before, but one of the recent Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios, I think, had a Killer Clowns from Outer Space theme recently, or they had some sort of a like exhibit from it you could go through, and it's pretty funny.
I think that movie, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, is due for a remake. The first one is, it's very bad. It's very, very bad. It's not even
Unless you like
it's-
things that are awesome.
It's not even a little scary, though, is my point. It's not a horror movie. It's just a bad movie that's pretty funny.
It's pretty solid.
I really do think that it could benefit from a real remake where you actually make them, a little more terrifying alien. And I kind of like that fact that they're wrapping people up in cotton candy and slurping them with a
Oh
straw.
man,
I'm
that sh-
about that, bro.
that shouldn't have been my pick. It should have been the butt from Butt Boy. Damn.
Oh, well. Better luck
So
next year.
let me go through these rosters really quick, the finalized rosters. So Jahan, in your slasher categories, you had Ghostface and Buffalo Bill.
Yeah.
For your monster category, you had Zombies and the Graboid. For your paranormal ghost, you had Deadites and the Crow. For your universal monster, you had Dracula. For your Stephen King pick, you had The Mist. For modern horror, you had Jennifer from Jennifer's Body. Your cursed item was the Necronomicon. Your cursed location was the Mall from Dawn of the Dead. And your garbage pick were the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Gary, man, how can you beat these two slasher picks?
Gary's got a good list.
Jason Voorhees and
All-star
Freddy
list.
Krueger. For your monsters, you had Pinhead and the Cloverfield Monster. For your ghosts, you had the girl from The Sixth Sense, who is creepy, and the twins from The Shining. So Gary obviously has a fear of young ghost girls.
100%.
That
For
one, that
your-
one's creepy, dude.
Oh yeah. For your Universal Monster, you had the Wolfman. For your Stephen King pick, you had Randall Flagg. Great pick, one I wouldn't have thought of. Modern horror, you had the aliens from Signs. Your cursed item was the Hellraiser puzzle box. Your cursed location was the Asylum from 13 Ghosts. And your garbage pick was... I like that you didn't just say the Leprechaun, but it's specifically Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun.
Davis, the legend, the man himself, the myth, as the Leprechaun. I even typed Warwick Davis first, and then typed Leprechaun after that. I was just gonna leave it though.
For my roster, for my slasher picks, I had Michael Myers and Art the Clown. For my monsters, I had the Xenomorph and The Thing. For ghosts, I had Beetlejuice and Slimer. My universal monster was the creature from the Black Lagoon. My Stephen King pick was Pennywise the Clown. Modern horror were the Tethered from Us. My cursed item was the Annabelle doll. Cursed location, the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. And my garbage pick was the ghostly trio Stretch, Fatso, and Stinky from the Casper the Friendly Ghost franchise. This is a great list. Like
These are good
this
lists.
came out way better than I ever could have imagined,
It's a good
honestly.
list.
There's some heavy hitters that didn't get picked. Some we gave shout outs to. Chucky off the board. Hannibal Lecter himself was off, although Buffalo Bill was on.
I
so
almost picked
you know.
Hannibal over Buffalo, but
still, at least the Hannibal franchise was represented in some capacity. Leatherface, Norman Bates, from Psycho. We mentioned Jigsaw, but he was not officially taken.
No,
Of course, some
and
classic monsters.
Leatherface would have been on my list. If somebody else would have picked up Freddy before I got there, I probably would have gone Leatherface.
Yeah, I like Leatherface.
Mm-hmm.
Pazuzu, Frankenstein, just to name a few. I'm sure there's a lot more that
Zool.
There's no Dana, only Zool. The shark from Jaws, I guess, could have been an option.
I would like to think that maybe Frankenstein is not so scary as Frankenstein once was considered to be.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, some of those Universal monsters are a lot less scary than they used to be. Frankenstein, I think, being
It's fair.
maybe suspect number one.
I just did an image. I did an image search and some, the imagery that comes up that wasn't picked. It's interesting. Like, I love the Pan's Labyrinth, Guillermo del Toro's with the monster with the eyeballs and the hands and
Mitch
the hands and
McConnell?
the face. So, I mean, it's hard to differentiate. But anyway, it's I'm just looking through. A lot of these we talked about. There's some other Universal monsters we didn't really touch on, the Invisible Man or the Mummy. But a lot of the big ones were taken. We talked about.
The Invisible Man is kind of hard to brand.
Yes, agreed.
It's a cool villain. It's a cool villain. It's just hard to brand. It's not something you immediately think of.
I was going to say you could go Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man.
Kevin Bacon from Hollow Man was good. The other one though with Elizabeth Moss.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Dude, that one was so good. I like that one a lot because there was like this like weird like psychological gaslighting. I don't know. It was interesting, man.
What's the character's name? Oh, gosh, Kyle would have my head.
Oh, there's no Mummy. There's no Emotep on the list. No one picked the Mummy.
Rocky Horror. What's
Frankenfurter?
Yeah. Thank you. Tim Curry's character.
That would have been a good garbage pick.
Yeah. That's probably where that would fit. Yeah.
Yeah, I go Dracula, Wolfman, and then probably Mummy with my Universals there.
Dracula, Wolfman, Mummy. I don't know. Let's talk about some fresh picks.
Yeah, I'll send this roster over to you, Jahan, and maybe you work your magic and you can create some sort of cool social media graphic or something to share with our picks or rosters, because that's pretty fun. But yeah, we can move on to some fresh picks. I know we've been recording for a while, but we can go through some things pretty quickly.
Yeah, I don't need to go into a lot of depth on some of mine, and Jahan and I have a lot that are shared also.
Yeah, a lot of ours are overlapped. Pretty much our entire list. My entire list overlaps with Gary's, so...
I had one thing on my list. Let me go ahead and cross it off. I was going to see if we want to do an Ahsoka review now that it's over, it's done. There's been a week gap in between. We could talk about it. But like you said, we already ate up some time, so maybe we can do that next week.
We'll do that.
Yeah, next week's probably going to be pretty light because there's no like big new releases or anything. So we can talk about it there because that's a topic that I end up going on a tangent about and talking about a lot. And I can take up a lot of time with that.
Yeah, let's give all of our listeners another week to finish Ahsoka then. That way we're not spoiling anything for them. And we'll talk about Ahsoka next week. Do you have any shows to talk about, Drew?
I really don't. I see y'all both have Loki on your list. Honestly, I didn't watch the first episode yet. So I think that says a lot about the state of the MCU shows for me as priority. Actually, I will talk about one because the folks at Netflix were kind enough to let me view the first, all 8 episodes of The Fall of the House of Usher, the new Mike Flanagan horror series that comes out this Friday. And I just want to mention it because if you like these kinds of series, like The Haunting of Hill House or The Haunting of Bly Manor or Midnight Mass or any of those, it fits in right along with those. And this is all based on the works of Edgar Allan Poe, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It focuses on the Usher family, which are like they're in charge of like a big pharmaceutical company, and they're a bunch of super wealthy, greedy people. And they the head of the family, Roderick Usher, is all his children basically start dying in horrifying ways, and all the different methods of death are based on other Edgar Allan Poe works, and I think it's really well done. The death scenes are really kind of incredible. Like, that's kind of what you end up looking forward to each episode, is like, how is somebody going to die this time?
Do Ludacris or Lil Jon, any of the other guys that work with Usher, make an appearance throughout this city, or no?
No, they do not, unfortunately.
Okay, well, that's okay.
But yeah, there's
Maybe
8
in season 2.
episodes. 8 episodes are each an hour long. As is expected in these series, and it's pretty good. I think that it when you start binging these things, it's like it all starts melding together, and you are just kind of looking for the big highlight moments, and things can sometimes drag a little bit, but I think overall the vibes and performances of this show are pretty good. You've got Bruce Greenwood. It's basically everybody that's been in a Mike Flanagan Netflix series before is here now. Like Bruce Greenwood and Carlo Gugino and Henry Thomas is in this. Mark Hamill is in it. It's pretty good. So I would recommend it, and that's out on Friday.
Alrighty, hell yeah, I'll be checking it
out. On my list, it says almost Loki. We started the podcast a little early tonight, like 45 minutes early, and I had literally just hit go on Loki. I would have had enough time to cram it right before the episode, but instead it's paused upstairs, ready to go. It's just a friendly reminder that I'm gonna be watching Loki, and I'm gonna be talking about it.
In that case, I will be brief so that we can talk about it more in depth next week. But hey, so Loki bringing back, I feel it's weird because Loki feels a little late when you're comparing timelines. Multiverse of Madness happened already. Like, where's this going to fit with everything going on? There's stuff with Kang that's supposed to be happening here that's maybe going to lead into the next Avengers. It's worrying where it's going to sit. But from just a purely watching this show, it's quality, man. It's good. Tom Hiddleston's back, killing it. He does a really good job as Loki. Everything that was happening at the end of last season is they pretty much pick up right away. Pretty wild stuff starts happening. It gets a little confusing for a minute if you're not quite paying attention. Just pay attention and you'll be all right. But they really start explaining how stuff works in the Marvel universe, and I forget his name, but the guy from Everything Everywhere is in this first episode.
Ke Huy Quan.
Yeah, Ke Huy Quan is in this, and he's great, and we love him. So definitely check out Loki, and I look forward to talking about it next week.
How long's the first episode? I haven't even checked it out.
I think it was like
its runtime.
47 minutes is what the runtime says, but that includes like the catch-up time, like the recap and stuff,
and like the 6 minutes of Disney Plus credits.
Strangely
so it's really
enough,
probably like 38 minutes.
There you go, exactly.
Strangely enough, there is a post-credit scene, so just be ready for that in the first episode.
Okay.
It was really weird, and I didn't understand the post-credit scene completely, so we'll see.
After Loki, that's the only show we have on the list. I'll talk about something you guys have already seen. In fact, you went and saw it together, Strays. It's on Peacock now, I believe. And so we just caught Strays. We watched it earlier this afternoon. It was pretty funny, pretty flagrant use of the F word. I mean, like every other word, like, come on, guys, could you dial this script back a little bit? It doesn't even sound like natural talking sometimes. I know we drop a lot of F-bombs, but still, they dropped a lot of F-bombs.
They dropped a lot of F-bombs.
And as you can expect, dogs are horny and dogs are dirty, so the movie is pretty horny and dirty. But other than that, it's a good laugh. I mean, I'm a dog owner. I'm pretty sure you guys said as dog owners, you'll find some good jokes in this. And for sure, there's things that you're laughing about that are some good dog bits for sure. Damn, what's that comedian's name? I should have looked it up before I talked about it. But the one who played the live action, the actual dog owner, Will Forte.
Yeah, Will Forte killed it.
he has such a fantastic way of just playing some of the most despicable characters in comedy.
Absolutely.
He's so good at playing a piece of shit in
Like,
that
there's
movie.
no one better.
Such a hilariously hateable piece of shit, and is still in this movie. I kind of liked Strays, but I'm not sure I'll ever watch it again. For what it's worth, it's fine to put on once, I guess.
He has an incredible way of playing deplorable people that you still are kind of like, "Aw," when you see them. I don't understand it.
He's got a human in there. Like, he is a piece of shit, but you can tell there's a human inside. But yeah, he, like, in Last Man on Earth, like, I don't even know how that show ran for so long because he is so hateable. He's
the lead.
hateable.
Like, yeah, you're basically stuck with this
that show is so
who's
good.
terrible. He's
And it's like-
awful.
and you feel for, like, every other character because you feel like you're stuck with him too. Like, good lord, get this guy out of here. But then, like you said, there's something human about him that's really lovable.
Yeah, like he's somehow able to be funny enough in his terribleness that you stick with him. It's so strange, but it's definitely like a really great trait that he has that I think is rare in any performer.
I love to hate Will Arnett, and I love to hate Will Forte. Maybe it's just something about being a Will, but the Wills are hateable, man.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you liked it. I was scared you were gonna be like, Drew, how did you think this was funny? Because I just, even though it's super crude, I thought it was funny when it came out, and I reviewed it positively, and I stand by it.
I also really like
to-
Will Ferrell in that.
Yeah, that's probably the most I've liked Will Ferrell in a long time.
It's the most I've liked him in a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that movie was. Could you imagine if we would have been like 14, 15 when that came out, and we snuck in the theater to saw it or whatever?
Oh, it would have been perfect for us back then. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, for that demographic, sure, there's something really funny to be had there. But I would say if you're not looking for literal dick and fart jokes, this movie's not for you. It's got a bunch of dick and fart jokes in it.
It really does.
I'll talk. I think y'all both have My Hero. I'll just talk really quick about another movie just because it's a new release, and I'm not going to go into too much detail. But I did see the new Exorcist movie, The Exorcist Believer. And, this kind of fits in with our horror draft because we talked about like the Halloween trilogy that David Gordon Green did. And, he's the one that's behind this Exorcist Legacy sequel that is a direct sequel to the original Exorcist movie. And it's trying to bring back characters from the past. And, it's pretty disappointing. Like it doesn't need to be a legacy sequel at all. Like those aspects of it feel shoehorned or like the movie was changed or something. Like it doesn't even make sense that they bring in Ellen Burstyn's character into this movie because she ends up being sidelined for most of it. So it's just like very strange.
Needs to be a Marvel multiverse. It doesn't all need to connect.
Right. You're exactly right. And so that being said, there's some interesting themes explored here. Some of the possession stuff is done pretty well. And Leslie Odom Jr., who's the lead in this, is really good. But just as a legacy sequel, I'd say it fails on that front. And as an Exorcist movie, it's fine. It got ripped apart in a lot of reviews, so I had super low expectations. And so I went in and I thought it was totally fine or serviceable. But like I said, from a legacy standpoint, no. Like there's just no reason for that to even be there. From a horror movie standpoint, it's fine, I guess. So that's where I'm at on Exorcist Believer. So I just wanted to mention that while we're in spooky season, and that movie was supposed to come out this coming Friday at the 13th, but it moved out of the way of the Taylor Swift concert movie that comes out this weekend instead, and it came out last weekend. And
I remember you talking.
So it's out in theaters now. Yep. So that's the Exorcist Believer.
Well, that's it for movies. Gary, we're going to talk about some video games here. Right quick. We've been playing them together. And
we have.
Which one do you want to start with here?
Wait, is My Hero Ultra Rumble, is that a show or is that a game?
It's a game.
It is the game. Yeah, it's the Battle Royale that Jahan and I have been playing. It's free to play, not just like free on Game Pass, but free to play. It's actually a pretty fun Battle Royale. I'm not big on Battle Royales in general. It's not a big genre of mine. But the map is pretty small, and if you're familiar with the show, they have like a battleground where they train that has like a fire zone and a water zone, sort of similar to Pokemon, but different. And that's where you fight, and that's the map every time. And you loot and you run to the middle, right, shrinking circle, and you fight squads of 3. So that format, I'm not a huge fan of, but the game is actually surprisingly fun. I would say it's more than serviceable, but it does feel like something that should have come out in 2010, 2012. Maybe it feels like it's 10 or 15 years too late. I'm not sure if it's the graphics they chose or just deciding to be another battle royale. But there's a lot of good things in it that do work. There are a ton of heroes to choose from. You don't feel limited. And all of those heroes have completely different play styles. Some can run straight up walls, some can pick up and heal allies, some are attack guys. There's a huge palette of characters to choose from. And I was super into that, man. The game play itself is actually pretty fun. There is a character, Cementos. He throws blocks of stone that literally change the environment. It's not just like an appearance thing, and it stays and it lasts. You can climb up his basic shots and get on top and throw more stuff at people. There's a lightning character where you can set different lightning balls and create, lightning zap patterns to trap people. It's a lot of fun for me, and I wasn't expecting it to be good. I was expecting to install it, uninstall it, see you later. But it might, if Jahan keeps wanting to play it, this might have a spot on my Xbox. It might stay on the back burner for a few months as a backup game.
It definitely scratches an itch for me, so it probably will stay in my rotation. I also enjoy the anime, so this is based on the My Hero Academia anime, for those of you who don't know. Like Gary said, completely free on all platforms, no subscriptions required. And yeah, they have a solid roster. Every character plays very uniquely. Their powers, I feel like they're well represented. And like some of the characters even have like their foibles. Like one of the characters, the electric guy specifically, in the show, if he goes too ham on his powers, his brain kind of shorts out and he gets all loopy. And if you go ham with the powers in this game, he starts going and starts sounding all dopey and like stumbling around. And like they put in little touches like that. I don't know. It feels true to the series. So if you're a fan of the series, definitely check it out. And also, we played with people that aren't a fan of anime, but do like battle royales, and they seem to have a good time as well. So it's a solid game.
Yeah.
There's no risk. Yeah, shout out to Lee. There's no risk here. It's free. Check it out. My Hero Ultra Rumble. Free on all systems.
Which is a really weird name. And some of the menus are kind of clunky. Unlocking characters can be kind of a pain. It definitely has its follies, but for a free game, it's hard to complain. I think it's over free game quality is what I think about it. I think you could pay $25 for this game as a My Hero Academia fan and feel like you spent your money just fine.
Yeah.
Being free, that's probably a way for them to get real cash, them to get real item mall stuff. I'm okay.
It's got a lot of freemium stuff in it, but
I'm okay with that if your game is free. If you have to pay for a game and then they have a shop, I'm pissed off. But if it's a free game and then they have a shop, they got to monetize somehow. So I get it. Good for them, man. Get your money, get your free game.
Fair enough.
My Hero Academia Ultra Rumble. The other game that we played, and we played the crap out of this, man. I've been putting some hours on this bad boy.
You want to play after this?
No, I'm going to go watch Loki.
Oh, man. Okay, fine.
I got Nick to play. I got Jahan back playing. I got Kayvon playing. I've been playing. I got my brother playing. Drew's got it installed. Warhammer Darktide has come to Xbox Game Pass finally. This game was supposed to come out last year around this time, right around Halloween. I was pretty stoked for it, and then they pushed it back to December, and then they pushed it back to January, and then they scrapped it for Xbox altogether and said, you'll get it when you get it. Jahan and I played on PC for a while, and it was fine. We liked Warhammer Darktide, but we kind of hit a point where we felt like we had done it, or a lot of the missions were repetitive, so we put it down. Now that Darktide has made its console debut, it has class trees, it has new maps, it has a couple new, maybe not necessarily mission types, but they've refined the ones that were already existing, so they're not quite as painful as they used to be. I feel like we don't do nearly as much auspex scanning as we used to have to do.
It's very true. And at least we do it on a different map sometimes now, too.
Yeah, now it's a different map, and they consolidated the account wallets, so you can buy cool stuff for all your characters on any of your accounts as long as you put in some time. And when we played on computer, I played as Ogren. You know, I just played as an ogre the whole time, and it was kind of meh. Now that it's on Xbox, I've got one of everything, and I'm absolutely loving Dark Tide. I'm putting hours in when I can, man. Starfield is on the shelf for me. In fact, side note, I unfollowed the Starfield subreddit because I've done it. There were no tricks, there were no secrets. You know, it was just what it was, and so I've done it. I did my Starfield. I've done its due diligence, and it's going on the shelf for now. But Warhammer 40k Darktide, my first person slasher, it's here right in time for Halloween.
Yeah, man, Dark Tide, it's real solid. Obviously, yeah, this came out a while ago on the PC Game Pass, but yeah, now it's on consoles, and it came with a huge, major update. Like Gary was saying, that the skill trees are deep now. Before they were very, very meager and bare bones. Now they're very deep. You can you can customize your character to be completely different from another of the same class. Me and Gary were both playing, I think, veterans, and we were completely different play styles, completely different everything. Yeah, the missions are brand new and fresh. This game, it feels like a brand new game. Lots of quality of life improvements. If you put Dark Tide down a while ago, it's time to come back and check it out. And if you haven't played it, it is free on Game Pass. Check it out. What is it, Fat Shark Games?
Yes, and I can confidently tell you that you will lose your first match, and you might even lose your second match. It's hard. Dark Tide's hard difficult out the gate. And until you get a couple of passive skills under your belt, it's kind of like a Left 4 Dead style game where you're trying to get to the other side of the map and complete a couple objectives along the way. But these are they've got all the boss zombies that Left 4 Dead has, right? Like the guy who runs in and pins you, or the dog who pins you down, or the guy who lights you on fire or puts you in a net. They've got all that kind of boss thing that Left 4 Dead has, but it's just so much more. The way how much technology has come in these years, the swarms are so much more dangerous than they ever were before. And
it's
this
so
is
good.
really more of a melee game. So you will just be cleaving through crowds of chaos. I can't recommend Dark Tide enough. Wasn't my game of the year last year because it was pretty lackluster, but this year, it's worth looking at, man. I'm liking it.
Certified fresh, out the box.
Yeah, this is my certified fresh pick of the week for sure.
I just have one quick thing that I'll mention here because last week we kind of talked about the Ubisoft Plus subscription service and how some of their new release games will be a part of that. And the new Assassin's Creed game launched, and I was like, you know what? I'll be the guinea pig and I will try this out. Oh. First off, yeah, so I did subscribe to Ubisoft Plus for the multi, console or whatever subscription. This allowed me to get Assassin's Creed Mirage on my Xbox. First off, to do it, you have to have like an Ubisoft account, which I've had for years linked to my gamer tag, and that system is just the Ubisoft account system is not the best. Like I had to get that situated and affiliated with my console before I could actually subscribe. And then once I subscribed, it worked fine. Yeah, once the game released, like it appeared in the Ubisoft Plus section of my games and apps section. There's like a tab for Ubisoft Plus, just like EA Play and other things. And the game was on there. I was able to download it and able to play. So it worked pretty seamlessly once I got it set up. Although today, and I don't know and this was a widespread problem. I looked on social media, but early this morning, I had time before work, and I was just going to play some Assassin's Creed just for a few minutes before, and it wouldn't work. It was showing as installed on my console, but when you tried to play it, it didn't work. It had disappeared from the Ubisoft Plus menu. This was a widespread issue, and a few hours later, it was back up. But it just shows they haven't worked out everything. So for the most part, this has worked fine, but I have seen some issues with the service. That being said, the game is solid. It's a return to roots for the franchise. Those games had gotten so big and their maps were giant. There was too much to do. If you wanted to 100% it, it was just way too taxing and required so much time. This one, the world map is pretty contained, and you can check things off pretty easily as you do in Ubisoft games. And I mean, the gameplay's still solid, but it's almost like playing Assassin's Creed 1, but in like the modern physics and modern engine. So it's pretty fun, and I don't think it's going to be a game I put 60 hours into. It'll probably be a game I put 20 hours into and can beat, and I'll be happy with it. Which, that's a series that had annual releases at one point, and it just got franchise fatigue hardcore, and now they've been separating them by a couple years.
Yeah, I mean, they were just doing like Assassin's Creed everything.
They're
Assassin's
pumping
Creed
them
Egypt,
out, man.
Assassin's Creed Mediterranean, Assassin's Creed London 1800s, Assassin's Creed the Chinese side scroller, Assassin's Creed multiplayer, Assassin's Creed France. You name it. You know, they were just, no matter what it was, they were trying to pump out another Assassin's Creed. They really did need to pump the brakes on this, and I really wish they would have leaned more into the sci-fi from the get-go. This could have been a cyberpunk game by now. You know, it could have been something where you're able to go from the Animus into the real world, across the city, and back into another Animus. You know,
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I will say this. So far, in my experience of this new game, there's been no Animus, there's been no modern stuff. It is all taking place in Baghdad in the period of the game, like
That's
with your
cool.
character. There's been no modern twist on it, at least yet. That's not to say it can't happen. It does have some little things that like resemble that, like little technical flourishes, so it might get into that. But as of now, there's been like no modern counterpart in it, which is good. It takes away.
I like that more personally.
It was cool at the time, but like sometimes when you had those little filler spots between just getting to explore, it would almost be like a chore, and they got rid of that. So
yeah.
Anyways,
if you're
I'm
forced into those slow type of cutscene things where you're walking around and reading a wall, then you're like, bro, I've got 20 more minutes before bed. I want to play the game, not walk around and look at a wall. Come on. Yeah, they're for sure. They needed to clean that up.
Yeah.
I'm with Jahan. I liked it. It just needs to be cleaned up. I'm somewhere in the middle of you two on that. So would you say it's fresh, Drew? You think Assassin's Creed is fresh enough for people to get Ubisoft Plus?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, I would say the game itself is fresh. The service of Ubisoft Plus so far is the jury still out. I've had, like, for the most part, it worked fine over the weekend, but then I had an issue with it today. So, hopefully, though, it will continue
I
working.
look forward to hearing more about that for sure.
Yeah, and this game seems short enough that it's possible I might beat it and then cancel the subscription and then resubscribe in December when the new Avatar game comes out, because I want to play that. But I looked through the list of games that are on the service, and most of the games that I would be interested in are games that I either already own or have already played. Like, there's nothing on there that I'm like, ooh, I really want to play this. Like, nah, I've played all of it. Like, I'm not going to go play old Splinter Cell games. I'm not going to go play old Assassin's Creed games.
You're not going to go play Ghost Recon Breakpoint?
Probably not.
The one that was doo-doo with Flymaster?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, that one sucked.
I guess if there's any entries in the Far Cry series that you want to play, like 3 and 4 and 5, and their expansions are all on there. Like, there's some stuff on there. But, nothing that I feel like I'm going to dabble in. So I think once I'm done with Assassin's Creed, it might be a cancel and wait, and then resubscribe for Avatar, and in January, the new Prince of Persia game, because I'll probably play both of those.
I think I'm just going to wait until maybe January or February and then just play some of the backlog still. I don't think I'm going to jump at this one. I'm going to bite.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed Mirage, you like it?
I do. And Gary, just knowing you, how you play stuff, like, if you didn't do all the side stuff and exploring, like, you could probably get through Assassin's Creed Mirage in a week or less easy. Because I think the story, the actual, like, the main campaign, I think you can get through pretty fast if you mainline it. So,
yeah, it's been getting,
I would say you're probably fine to wait from that standpoint.
Assassin's Creed, I've been hearing good things from a representation standpoint from, like, the Middle Eastern community for positive representation of us. We're not savages in this. We're not bad guys. We're just people. And, you get to see, like, our beautiful cities and stuff like that. And so I've been hearing a lot of good things on that respect, and hearing that they did a good job with the voice acting and the language. So it gets bonus points from me for that.
Yeah, it's very pretty and the parkour works and there's a lot of cool buildings close together. So yeah, the free running is as good as it's ever been, in my opinion. It looks great, like it runs well, and it seems pretty. It's a smaller package compared to the huge sprawling landscapes of like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the Vikings one that came out a few years ago. That one was like huge maps, lots of fields with like some fortresses and things that you could climb. This is the more dense city, and there are some like desert plains and such, but like you can get across it pretty fast in the wilderness area. So I really like how contained it is. It's a nice change of pace for somebody like me who's like bigger is not always better in these big open world games.
That's true.
I'd say it's fresh, and that's the last thing on my list, and I think our lists.
Yeah, that's it. So, hey, everybody, thanks for listening to this extra spooky, extra long episode of Fresh Out the Podcast. We had a lot to say today, but hey, you were here for it, so thank you for listening. I have been the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon.
It's me, Casualty CDG, Tabletop Titan and Podcast Poppy. If you like tabletop role-playing games, you should catch me and Jahan every Thursday and Friday from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We're playing tabletop role-playing games, painting minis, hanging out, being nerds, and just being generally awesome. Otherwise, tell people about Fresh Out the Podcast. This is 106, man, 106 episodes. Man, we're still going strong. So tell people to come over here, give us a listen, give us a like, a follow, whatever it is. And we will appreciate that very much. I am going to go watch Loki and then maybe Cloverfield. I'm feeling some Cloverfield monster.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter and all the social medias. Thank you so much for listening to the trademark Super Fresh Spooky Draft. Perfectly named and now copyrighted. Thank you very much. It's been episode 106. Fresh Out the Podcast.
Stay spooky.
Stay super fresh.